recording. Alright, welcome people. This is a class spec guide playstyle to how I play Guardian Fighter, which I've been told creates a lot more threat than what everyone else is pretty used to. It's known as the hybrid spec, with a couple little personal touches to it. I don't really consider it a hybrid spec due to not being able to hold threat any other way. So yeah, this is how it goes. Here's my gear first off. I'm still shy of having the 3-step bonus. So helm is from the vendor. Chest piece is from Heroic Throne of Idris. Gauntlets are from Craigmire Crypts or the other easy one. Can't remember its name, but one of the others from that. This weapon and the shield are from Heroic Pirate King. Heroic Pirate King's quite easy if you know what you're doing. Boots are from somewhere once again that I can't remember. The boots and the gloves are from Craigmire Crypts and the other easy one. One from one and one from the other. I can't never remember. And then the chest piece from Throne of Idris. Neck and both rings, which the rings are the same, and belt are all from Unicorn Seal vendors. I bought the fancy plate chest shirt thing, and the Underdark breeches I got from leveling in the Spider dungeon. Gear score is 11.75, or yeah, 11.753. My ability scores, I put points in dexterity, but honestly you should just put it into straight strength con. If I had the 600 Zen or wanted to spend 600 Zen worth of diamonds, I could just change it. It's not a huge deal, not game breaking, especially when I'm only doing tier 1 content, and I'm already better than what everyone says. You need to be stacking recovery till you get about 3,000. With the cat pet, it's going to be a lot easier. I currently don't have it. If I had the cat pet and the gear on the cat pet, I have easily 2,100, if not more, recovery with everything exactly the same, just with the cat. So I should honestly be gemming offense with, rather than offense with Radiant Enchants, I should do offense with, I believe it's the Dark Enchants that give recovery. It could be Azure. Let's check. Is it the Azure? No. It's not either of those. Oh, okay, it's Silvery. Silvery gives recovery. I should pretty much doing Silvery to recovery. Offense slots until I get about 3,000 recovery. Then after that, I want about 1,500 armor penetration. And then after those two requirements are met, put everything. Oh, excuse me, I got the hiccups. Everything into power and critical. Just an overview of the stats, so you guys can all take a look at what you can expect once you have about med gear level. Okay. Utility slots, you put Dark Enchants for the slight movement boost. Defense slot, I put Azure Enchants for higher defense. And offense, like I said, with Silvery for recovery. Once you have recovery filled up, do power. Alright, back onto powers. The only ones that really matter are the few that I have. Ignore the glitchiness that happens when you move the character sheet without. Yeah. Anyways, so your dailies are going to be Villain's Menace and Fighter's Recovery. Villain's Menace will cause you to become immune to crowd control, like 99% of crowd control effects. You can still get knocked back, but you'll never get knocked down or lose control of your character. You can get silenced by those green or those purple orbs in like Throne of Idris and obviously a couple other places. So yeah, that's why Villain's Menace is your main daily. You also have Fighter's Recovery, which will heal you for the damage you deal until I don't know the exact amount. It doesn't really tell you. Here, I'll pull it up here. Fighter's Recovery. It doesn't tell you how much you heal, but it's about half of your total HP will be healed when you pop it over the course of doing the damage to get your HP up. Here, I'll close that and reopen it so that glitchiness goes away. So you can see what Villain Menace does. Villain's Menace. Is that. Okay. Once again, special powers. Did it again. And now it keeps doing it. Okay, it's gone. Lunging Strike. That's another ability that I use as my L button, or my E button, sorry. E. It charges the foes, does really good amount of damage, especially with all your feats that contribute. Alright. And now I use Enforced Threat. Enforced Threat will mark and taunt everything nearby and do some damage to everything nearby. So you can see I have a 13.7 cooldown on it. And it recovers your guard meter. So if your guard meter is low, so usually your guard meter is either full or empty. That's what I find. Enhanced Mark. This is going to be key and essential for creating enough threat until you get amazing gear like the 4-set bonus. What it does is, while your targets are marked, you will do double threat to them, and they will generate threat just by being on them. Couple that with your at-will, it'll be quite easy to maintain threat. The other class feature I use is Combat Superiority, which is, where is it? There it is. You only need 1 point in Combat Superiority, but you have so many extra points on top of your baseline that why not thought process, because it's something I will use, so I might as well improve something a little bit rather than putting a point into something I'll never use. Now for your at-wills, you're going to use Cleave, which is your primary. You cleave things, awesome damage. And Threatening Rush. Threatening Rush is the key to how you create threat. When you charge at an enemy, you always want to charge at them with Threatening Rush. Your Lunging Strike is more just for a crazy amount of damage, and it will let you charge things that are really far away if you need to get to it ASAP. The reason you want to use Threatening Rush over Lunging Strike is Threatening Rush will mark the target, which causes you to gain a double threat. So if you Threatening Rush into a group, you'll mark everything around you, and then when you use your Enforced Threat, not only will it taunt them, creating threat, do damage, creating threat, and actually marking them all, which will generate threat. All of that is doubled because you already have them marked with Threatening Rush. So it kind of allows your encounter to be twice as good if you use Threatening Rush first. How I do it is when I charge into things with Threatening Rush, follow that with Enforced Threat, and then depending on the angle or what I need to, it's either Lunging Strike or I use Frontline Surge. I highly prefer Frontline Surge, but if it's only one target or if it's really difficult to angle it right, I'll just use Lunging Strike and then follow it with the Frontline Surge after I move around to get the correct angle with the Frontline Surge, because I want to get my counter powers on cooldown as fast as possible to generate the most amount of uses in one entire fight. Finally, once you get Threatening Rush, you will never use Mark, but you can't put anything else there, so Mark still exists. So as you can see, Frontline Surge, I don't think I actually clicked on that, but I talked about it. Where are you? Frontline Surge, what it does is it creates like a line in front of you that knocks things back and does some great damage. It's between that and having your guard meter, it's definitely the two things that it recharges your action points the fastest. The faster you can recharge your action points, the more the more you can use your daily, which makes you do more damage. Villain's Menace makes you do more damage and makes you immune to disabling effects, which is awesome. Okay, feats. Anyone who's done some research will recognize that I've taken a lot of the similar feats. We'll go through them. Strength Focus, more strength, effectiveness, awesome. Toughness, more HP, awesome. Armor Specialization, more armor, awesome. 1 point in Shielded Resurgence. The reason I only put 1 point into it is putting 3 points will only double the effect from 1 point, so it's not really worth putting more points into it. but you do get a little bit of healing from it, so you might as well just drop the 1. Plus, it'll let you shift up to the next tier of content. Tier right here, these 3, which Potent Challenge, you need more threat, always. 15% more, awesome. Increases your damage of everything but your dailies, duh. 1 point in Grit. Grit is something that you could put more points into, but you don't necessarily have to. I would highly suggest putting 1 point into it. 0 points is just dumb because you want temporary hit points. 1 point in Ubiquitous Shield. This is another thing you can put more points into, but aren't necessarily required to. You should at least have 1 point into it. It is under circumstances damage reduction, but there's some places you can put points into that it's better allocated. I'm a human, so I actually get 3 additional heroic tier points. That's why it says 23 instead of 20, and then 31 for Paragon. So those 3 points I put into Weapon Master. If I didn't have those 3 points, I would not have Weapon Master, but I would have still 1 point in Grit and 1 point in Ubiquitous Shield. Now on to Paragon feats. I went for Conqueror because that's what you got to do to be able to tank in this game currently. Take Measure. Whenever you have temporary hit points, or sorry, whenever you're crit, you gain temporary hit points equal to 5% of your maximum health. Sadly, it's a 50-second cooldown. Still, temporary hit points are awesome. The reason they're awesome is whenever you have them, you do 15% more damage, which damage converts into threat. Cruel Cut Style, more damage on your cleave, which you're spamming all the time. More threat, effectively. Tactical Superiority, it's your class feature that we talked about. Instead of once your enemy hits you, it's always on, so effectively you always do 20% more damage. 15 from the class feature itself, and then 5 additional from this trigger. And then finally you pick up Reckless Attacker, which depending on the amount of guard meter you have, which like I said, you're either going to have full or empty, because you're not going to guard anything unless, here's your guard meter is right here. Can't really see it unless you're actually getting hit or in combat. It doesn't look so darkened while you're in combat and it's getting used. But once again, your feats. But anyways, if you're a full guard meter, you have double your normal power. If you're an empty guard meter, you have your normal amount of power. So it's just an insanely good feat to take. Finally, you go down Tactician. You want to at least get 5 points into Fight On. That will leave you finally with 5 additional points to put wherever you want on the tree. What I ended up choosing was Battle Trample. It will, whenever the effects of Trample the Fallen is on effects, you do 25% of your weapon damage in threat, and 25% of your weapon damage is physical damage. What this will do is you'll create 25 threat. Assuming you have 100 weapon damage, you will do 25 threat and 25 damage. But that 25 damage also adds to threat. And if you have them all marked, it will do double threat. So that 25 threat will now be 50. The 25 damage will do 25 damage. We'll do 50 additional in threat on top of. So you just created 100 threat just from something being CC'd, crowd controlled, either by you with the knockdown or by control wizards, or a couple other classes have some other things. What Trample the Fallen does, I will pull back up my powers to bring it out. I do not currently use it because I don't have my force set yet, so I have to use Enhanced Mark to maintain a great amount of threat, but this is what it does. When a foe is affected by control powers, you deal 15% more damage to it. Awesome. So that's why I took those. If you don't like the idea of just maximizing your damage, you can go for Plate Agility. 5% additional deflect chance. What deflects does is when the deflect roll hits, you only take half damage from that attack instead of full damage. Or you can put them into Ubiquitous Shield or Grit. I would probably put them in Grit before Ubiquitous Shield, but that's up to you. Those are the powers, and those are the feats. Companions. I have the crappy Cleric Companion. It's really crappy. What all the Cleric Companion really does, once you're max level and doing heroic instances, is in between fights, when it's not dead, it'll cast a little heal on you, which will top you off. it's percent based, so that heal never gets worse, but the fact is one shot from any type of AoE from any of the mobs, which always happens, will kill it. And since it has terrible AI and runs into the melee, even though it's a cleric companion, it'll die. So the companion you want is the cat companion. What the cat companion does is every level, it goes up to 25 levels, it will give you 15 recovery and 15 critical. On top of that awesomeness of 375 additional recovery and critical, or it might be 450, you might actually gain more than 15 every level. I don't have it, so I can't 100% confirm or deny. Every piece of equipment that you'd equip on the cat, like this slot, and this slot, adds to your character as if you had it equipped yourself, full on. So you get 3 additional equip slots with the cat, plus you get, I believe for a cat it's offense, defense. When you put in the offense slots, you can put in those recovery gems, which gives you more recovery straight to your character at a 1-to-1 ratio. And then finally, in your last slot, the defense slot, you put an Eldritch Runestone in. The reason you choose Eldritch Runestone is your pet stats up to, I believe it's 9% if you have a rank 9 or 10. I don't remember if it's rank 9 is the highest. But the higher Eldritch Runestone you have, the higher percentage of your pet stats you actually get on your character. What this means is your best equipment put on your cat, your second best equipment put on your character, because on your cat you'll actually gain even more benefit than if you were wearing it. So that is how you spec a tank. Now, once again, as a quick overview, now that we're all done with that, the way you play it is you would threatening rush into a crowd of enemies, follow that with enforced threat. That'll create a good amount of AoE threat to grab things onto you. Either frontline surge the group of enemies to create additional threat and knocking them down, allowing your healer to catch up with that initial punch that you took from all those mobs, immediately getting their swing timers off. Or if you can't really get a good angle on your frontline surge, you're going to lunging strike. Now let's say you have your full dailies and you want to use your dailies as soon as possible. You're going to still want to use threatening rush and enforce threat, because you want to get that initial aggro before you try to even use your daily Villain's Menace. Because the daily takes a long time to actually cast, so if you go threatening rush daily, you're not going to have the mobs on you before you have a chance to use enforced threat. It's going to hit your cleric. Not that your cleric will die by getting hit 2 or 3 times by a couple mobs. It's just really difficult to group all the enemies up for your frontline surge and your general cleave spam, because cleave spam is awesome. The best move in the game that's not yours is going to be Arcane Singularity. A mage who knows how to utilize Arcane Singularity is going to be your best friend, because it'll group all those damn enemies up into one spot, so your cleave will hit every single one of them. Your threatening rush will mark every single one of them. Your enforced threat will damage every single one of them. Your frontline surge will knock down every single one of them. Your Villain's Menace will do damage to every single one of them. You get the point, is that you want them all in one spot just for convenience sake, so you can easily see if one gets escapes from the cleric. A smart cleric will stand, you'll want the tank in between you and the ads. If you do get an ad on you, bring it to the tank. Anyone should bring it to the tank, because with this game, the targeting system is kind of terrible, so you have to really get away from what you're doing with the tank, with the ads, which will take 2-3 seconds, maybe a little bit more if you get knocked down in the process or such, to even get away from the ads to go chase down that one that's chasing around the mage or chasing around the cleric, to even be able to charge at it, because if you're still locked on to the group, your charge will just put you back in front of them, which can be quite annoying. So that is how I play Guardian Fighter, and I get compliments all the time from it. Inventory, wish I had some more. So that's the guide, I guess. Good luck, guys.